Welcome to another video. In the previous lesson, we manually migrated our REST API to HTTP and we did those connections programmatically. So you should be a little more confident with template. We did work our way through a few errors. Moving forward, right, we'll be actually writing out the connections ourselves. So let's drag over the Lambda function that we need. This Lambda function will be called redirect. We're going to keep the same version, ARM, and let's update this. That's pretty much it. And let's make sure we change the logical name as well. Save. And we're going to hook that up to DynamoDB again. Now in order to perform the redirect, let's talk through how this works, right? When we click on the URL, and this is a long URL for now since we're using the default endpoint API gateway gives us, but we need a way to take this unique shortcode and perform a query in the database. And if you remember, our database just has one primary key or partition key. We need another type of identifier that we can actually use to search. Now, in DynamoDB and in a lot of these resources, the application composer doesn't give you access to all the properties, and some of these things you have to change from the template side. And so we'll go ahead and do that. But what we need to do is we need to add a global secondary index. And this is just another way of querying your table resources without using the primary key, without going too in depth. So let's open up our template in VS Code. And let's open the template.yaml file. And if we go down to our database or table, let me close a few things. So we have functions. Okay, so we have our type table, and you'll see we have a attribute ID. We do need to add the second global secondary index, and so we can use that as a lookup. So let's just go down right after billing. We have our schema. Right after key hash, we're gonna add global secondary indexes. And my IntelliSense kicked in earlier, but let's just talk through this. So we need a name for the index, and I'm just gonna call it unique key index. And this can be any string. We just remember to use this in your Python code. We need this key schema, that is, and here we're gonna call this shortcode, and this is the name of the value in DynamoDB. So let's actually check that out. If we go to our table, if we go to CloudFormation, and this is probably one of the easiest way to go directly to your resource. So we have our table resource, and let's just open that up. And if we go to explore table item, or we can look at indexes. Actually, let's explore table items. And I'm just going to open that up. And here are some keys that we have. So it is shortcode. And that's what we actually need to uniquely identify the URL values. So let's go back, and it is shortcode, and key type we'll say is a hash, and we'll do a projection of all, and that should be in caps. So that's all we need to change. So this should be added to your table. Now we can look up using a index name and look up the attribute of shardcode when we actually get those URLs. So let's save this. And let's just go ahead and deploy this so that we can make sure that the index is created. Let's do a SAM build, and this should be all but familiar by now. Nope. So we have an arrow. It's not complete, failed. And usually with these terminal errors is the syntax, right? So let's take a look again. We have a key schema attribute, key type hash, actually, and this should be projection type. So one indentation. And all. So this should fix our error. So again, projection type all, and let's build and deploy. So let's check CloudFormation, see if we have more information about the error, right? And attribute reference key schema is not defined. Attribute definition. So let's take a look. Got it. So we're trying to reference an attribute that we haven't created yet, so we need to actually add the attribute here as well. So let's add a new attribute. And it should be shardcode. And the attribute type is string. And again, that should fix. And these are pretty much some of the errors you will work your way through. The documentations are pretty good. And let's check. So we should be all good now, and we should be seeing a new index. So let's refresh this, and it's still being created. Sometimes these operations are still running in the background even though your template is fully completed. This usually takes a minute or two. And 3 minutes later, we have our index. So now we can start looking up reading values in our table by the shardcode, which is what we need to perform our redirect. So let's start writing our code.